So, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for finding time to visit Divirod's webinar today. My name is Ava Jordan. I'm the communication specialist at Divirod and an overall water enthusiast. I'll be facilitating this presentation and handling any questions that come up. Our speaker today is Adam Wilson. Adam is the co-founder and chief of products at Divirod. Throughout his very accomplished entrepreneurial career, he's contributed to over 15 technology patents and co-founded Sphero, a company that empowers millions of kids through programmable robots and alternative educational content. If you couldn't guess, he's obsessed with robotics, sensors, and data. So I'm going to send out a little poll here, the next poll. So our goal, there he goes. Our goal is for Divirod to host a webinar each quarter with different topics. Today's topic is overcoming digital scarcity in water scarce regions. Our agenda will include an introduction to the technology that's transforming how we measure and understand water, a breakdown of what digital scarcity and digital water means, and then we'll share a case study from one of our clients in Lake Henshaw, California. So this should take about 15-20 minutes, and at the end we'll leave some time for a Q&A. And keep in mind, you can post your questions as they come or wait until the end. I'll be tracking them and make sure that they're all answered. So without further ado, here is Overcoming Digital Scarcity with Adam Wilson. Take it away, Adam.
Awesome. Okay, thanks, Ava. Again, I really appreciate the intro. I'm really excited to kind of talk about this topic. My past was in robotics, but over the past few years, I've been really obsessed with the way the world's going and what the future holds for all of us. And water's the biggest thing that we're going to talk about today. So let me go on here. What I want to talk about today is water risk. Divirod as a company, we focus on water risk. We think about water in many different ways, from floods, the excess of water, to snow and the impact of that on transportation and logistics, to other transportation, as everybody heard about the Suez Canal. And one really important one today that we want to focus on is water scarcity, the lack of water, let's manage our water resources the best we possibly can. And hopefully a lot of you in the audience now are people who do this professionally, or know about this, or have a passion about this, because right now we have a passion about tracking water scarcity. I want to talk to you guys a little bit real quick about our vision. I'm Adam Wilson. I have a passion for entrepreneurship and building big things that will change the future. And I met my co-founder, Javier, in 2019. He had a history of working at the European Space Agency, and he had an idea that why are we not tracking water better? Why can we not do this better? If you think about traffic data, why do we not have this for water? And him and I got together and said, let's start Divirod to do this. Let's become and build a more water resilient world. And that was our vision, that was our mission. And I'm going to tell you about how we're going to do that. So the way we're doing that is we've invented this incredibly powerful IoT sensor. You can see it there on the left. It's really small. It's power light, so it just runs on about 4 watts of energy. So that could be run on like a solar panel, or as you see here, plugged into a pole. This little tiny brilliant sensor gets put up on a pole, and or a building, or it can actually be on a standalone pole, just like we have here. And with just that, we're able to produce the world's most precise maps of water and anything that contains water that have ever been seen. Let me just talk to you a little bit about how it technically works. So right here, as you can see, we all know about GPS satellites. We call them GNSSR. So this is global navigation systems. They're all sending these signals down to Earth, and we use them to navigate with our phones all the time and drive around and see where we're going. But actually these signals contain a lot of information. And when they bounce off the ground or water or any surface on Earth, they actually pick up a signature, a characteristic of whatever they're bouncing off of. So this little video is showing sort of a demonstration of how that happens here on a body of water. It bounces off, and we use the timing and the extreme precision from GPS to give a perfect millimeter precision height of that water. And not only that, but we actually measure water in every form. So we can see bodies of water, we can see coastlines, so waves and tidal movement, snowpack, agriculture water, so either in the land or on the side of the water there. We see floods and drought. And when we say drought, we mean we see water in the fact that it's moving away, going away, and eventually goes away, as in the picture here. And we see the soil moisture that's produced there. So the volumetric percentage of soil moisture. So for us, we're able to measure water in every form and give a map of it around our unit, wherever we place them. So I just want to talk about real quick, what is digital water? So I think we see this topic show up a lot on social media, and we talk about it a lot as a company. But for us, it's when water data, or any kind of data really, but when water data specifically is integrated into the cloud. And that gives it the ability to be operated on by big data platforms, integrated to other models. We can use machine learning for pattern recognition and artificial intelligence for predictions. Now, this is really important to how we think the future is going to be. So if you think about this digital water data, it sort of represents itself in three different time periods. One is right now, the present, where we care about real-time monitoring. What is going on with the water? How much water do we have? How much water are we going to have is what's happening in the future. Those are the predictions. And we're able to offer alerts and other things about that. And for the past, claims and report is huge. Being able to take a claim and say, we've had this much water, we've used this much water, here's what we need to do about it in the future, is really important. And if you have digital water, if you have all of your water in the cloud being operated on by big machines, this is how you're able to produce incredible action taking and decision making that has never been seen before.
Okay, we're doing another quick poll, launching it now. So we're asking you, in your personal or professional opinion, do you expect water shortages on average conditions in your area? It looks like 90% are saying yes. Cool, thank you for answering.
So guess what? You guys aren't alone. We all think that water shortage is a huge issue. I mean, obviously, you can see that 90% of them. So obviously, water shortage is a huge issue. This was taken from the annual threat assessment of the US Intelligence Committee. So it's a threat to everybody. It's not just a threat to the people who live in these areas. It's a threat to the global economy. It's a threat to people of disposition. It's a threat to everybody. So we take water scarcity as an enormous issue. And so as right now we're talking about digital scarcity, what that is digital scarcity is the lack of these digital water assets, what we just talked about, a lack of having the water automated, put in the cloud and looked at by big machines and big technology. The lack of that technology is what leads to everybody being siloed. So people looking at water scarcity as just a single issue that only affects their local area. It's a global issue, and you said 90% or 87% of the people in this chat felt that we have water shortage in your local area. I think 40 out of the 50 state water managers expect water shortages under conditions in some portion, under normal conditions in some portion in their state. So everywhere, I mean, there's probably 10 states that aren't going to have that. And you can think of Hawaii and some special states in the United States alone, but basically everywhere is going to have this issue. And so what we contemplate, what we're proposing to do about this is for people to measure better, monitor better, and put this data in the cloud. So we want to talk about a use case scenario. One of our products, we call it Water Watch, is for looking at reservoirs or rivers or fresh water. And I want to talk about how that works, because our sensors are awesome at doing this. This is Lake Henshaw, California. Our sensor's actually up on this dam, so it's pretty far away from the water source. And as you can see in this little graphic, all these little yellow dots that keep showing up over the graph are reflections from GPS satellites over the time period shown as they bounce off the water and show back up in our platform. So you can see that we're covering hundreds and hundreds of dots, little dots. If you can imagine, that's somebody out on a boat or somebody out there with millimeter precision accuracy measuring at that spot, being able to give us an average or a really good consistent average of that body of water over time. And that's what's critical here, is we actually are able to offer 15-minute intervals of data, and we upload that every hour to our customers' dashboard. So they're able to see every 15 minutes what we read, and they're able to get that update every hour. And so for Lake Henshaw, the incredibleness of this is what they get is they put this simple sensor up on a pole. I think it took us about 15 minutes to put that up there. And what they get is this incredible dashboard. This is our product. We're a data as a service company. So Lake Henshaw doesn't buy that sensor. Actually, we support and maintain that entire sensor network. And they simply just buy data as a service or dashboards as a service. And they're able to get this incredible dashboard here by just installing that. 15 minutes later, have it, and we can set that up in just a few days for nearly anybody. And what's really cool about this graphic is I want to talk about the water shortage. What happened here in Lake Henshaw? We're actually working with Vista Irrigation, so we're able to share these images and data with you. We keep all client data really private. But what I wanted to show is on the right there, you see their water level. So that's exactly what Lake Henshaw tracks all the time. And the way they used to do that is walking out to a staff gauge, and I'm sure some of the folks in the audience maybe even do that or know about that, but it's just a ruler in the water basically that says how high the water is. And they would go out there every day. In fact, somebody would live on this water reservoir just to make sure they could track this every day and put it into a spreadsheet and upload it somewhere so that everybody was tracking the data. What's incredible about the Divirod system is you put up a sensor, we plug it in, takes 15 minutes, we begin gathering data. Over a given amount of time, we are able to track not only just the water data, but the trends. So we see how fast we're discharging the water, which if you see up at the top right, we see our maximum water amount. Divirod knew that within the first 15 minutes, or the first hour actually, once we uploaded this data. The next time we saw the trend of the water going down, we were able to send a message to Lake Henshaw that the water is now no longer going to be filling up. It is now going down in a trend. And for them to just get that as an alert, that's very powerful. Instead of looking at the data and calculating and pretending to know and going, look, they just get an alert about that the data is going down. And I wanted to look at if you look at this little spot here, it's incredible that our technology works from so far away, right? If you see the picture here on the left, we are not even near the water source. We're way up on that dam. But the technology, GNSS reflectometry is what this is called, gives us the ability to measure that still at millimeter precision. And we're able to tell them at 5 o'clock on January 26th is when water started running out. That's the day it's going to start going down. And so for Lake Henshaw, this represents an enormous transformation of their model, of the way they see everything. Rather than an analog process or something that they have to track, they have a digital process and some big machine learning that tells them the moment that the trend starts going down. And so for them, knowing this exact information and having that simple dashboard on their phones lets them have the insight and knowledge that they need to make decisions or take actions. I mean, I live in Colorado, so we often face water shortages where you can't, water your lawn or water your things, or there's no car washes even running at certain times. So these impact the community, and those are maybe luxury items, but they impact the community in agriculture, in many other places where water availability is obviously critical. And tracking it at this level, at millimeter precision, and tracking the moment that we start running out, we consider that to be bringing water into the digital age and building digital water. And so I wanted to just end it there with that's what we consider digital water. Digital scarcity, which is the lack of these digital water elements, is something that we can address by just getting more data, getting all of the data monitored by third-party, non-biased parties like us who can measure water and have a global footprint. And so the cool part, we just talked about one sensor today, and I think this is pretty cool. I didn't want to pack too much in one webinar. That's how one sensor works. It works to see water and snow and rivers and coastline. But what happens when you make a network of these things? What happens when you have hundreds of these out in the world and you put all of the data together to make predictions and you mesh that with other models? Well, that's what's going to be on the next Global Water Series webinar. So the next one we have will be about the network, machine learning, and kind of how that all works with Divirod. And with that, I conclude.
Amazing. Thank you, Adam, for a very nice presentation. I loved the video visuals and the breakdown of our dashboard. I'm going to send out one last poll for you guys to know what you found most interesting. And now is also the time to answer any questions if anybody has. We have the questions feature if you want to drop one and stay anonymous. But if there are not any questions, we have the contact information on the screen. So please reach out to Michael. He's the head of operations. Oh, I see a question. One second. I think it's in the chat. Okay, we have a few questions rolling in.
Great.
You ready, Adam?
Yes.
Okay. The first one is, if only single sensor, how is QA/QC accomplished? Via multiple GPS single or?
Oh, so if there's just one sensor, basically I believe the question is how do we make sure it's calibrated correctly? And how do we make sure that the data is coming in properly and is to the right datum? Well, the fact is that we don't just have one GPS satellite above us as well. We have an extremely large, I think 80 or 90 in the US, GPS satellites above us. And all of those, we see about 20 at once, provide exact positioning. So we're able to kind of get rid of any calibration problems, and we match the datum. So most people know datum in this audience, which is the zero. Where are we all going to call the zero? We match that to what our customers call the datum. But there's a difference between accuracy and precision. Let's just say that we're extremely precise. Every single time we measure, if it goes up this much, we see that it went up this much. Now, what you call this much, which is the accuracy, we work with our customers to make sure we're on the same datum. But basically, the GPS satellite network is what helps us calibrate to be very precise. And on that note, we have actually co-located one of these sensors with Duke Marine Lab University, which is like the state of the art for NOAA here. And we have very, very precise data correlated just right to their data.
Cool. There was a second part to his question. He said, has the res had LIDAR done to it?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that question would mostly reflect to the volume of water in the reservoir. And usually our customers already have a LIDAR done so that they know the general profile of the reservoir for giving volume. We mostly focus on the surface height at the very top. And the coolest part about that is, again, if you saw that it was up on the dam, a lot of times reservoirs don't just stand right where they are, they go down and up. And so old technology has to move and keep track of that. Our technology is able to sort of let it move around like that.
Cool. Does that answer your question, Jim? Cool.
And if
Thank you for
not,
asking.
also, again, you could hit up Michael Walker, or I'm just adam.wilson@divirod.com. So I'm open for questions, and we also recorded this. So
We actually have one more question that came in.
oh, great.
They wrote, it appears you can measure the problem of disappearing water, but what can you do about it? I live near Lake Mead and we are very low.
Yeah, so well, I appreciate that question. Our focus is on resiliency against it. So we measure the water, and what we think that we can do about it is provide better data and better predictions. When we looked at things even like Lake Mead, I don't want to maybe call them out or anything, but I believe that some of the technology that they use to predict the water levels, and not just over this year, but year over year over year, have not been digital, have not been in this process, have not been able to sort of been thought through by a computer. I mean, big cloud data is the way that we see big data being processed. But there's not really much we as a Divirod can do other than rally together with you guys. Ava said she's a water enthusiast, so am I. We are a water team. We care very much about water. That's why we're doing this. That's why we care. So having better measurements is our way to give back, but we need a community and basically everybody to get on board with using water more responsibly. And we partner with other companies that are trying to work on those things as well. So you think about wetland initiatives and other ways of trying to work on water conservation. We do that on the back end, but what we do best is measure and monitor water in all its forms.
Cool.
Okay.
All right. think that was the last of them.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody again for coming. I really appreciate your time, and I hope that if you learned something, there's going to be a little feedback email that comes after this webinar. Please let us know any feedback to getting better. Like I said, the next one's going to be about the power of the network. I'll probably have our CTO Heiko on with me to discuss some of the technical details about what do we mean by that? What can the network do? Because it's really cool what we can, if you imagine traffic data from Google, how impactful that has been to the whole world. We imagine you can get that from water data, right? You can imagine the impact of knowing real-time water. So check that out on the next one.
And expect an email from us with the recording of this presentation, and feel free to share the link if you think somebody missed out on this talk and they benefit from this information. And yeah, like Adam said, we will see you at our next webinar. So thanks for joining.